Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Get a man to subscribe to your fish supply and he'll be forever dependent on you for his protein, all right? Mel Robbins has announced her next move after the Let Them theory. It's a protein drink, obviously.
I am launching a new company. It is called Pure Genius Protein.
It's been about a year since I made a video exploring the controversy around the Let Them theory, which is a book that has sold millions of copies worldwide and cemented Mel Robbins' place in the online self-help guru sphere.
This is the single biggest, most profound and important thing I have ever discovered.
The controversy around it is now very well documented. The official story that she was telling about how she discovered the idea has been debunked. And many people are now aware of the contextual catalyst that gave rise to the book, which was a viral poem by Cassie Phillips. In this video, I want to look at Mel Robbins' announcement for what comes after that book, because what a protein shot reflects is a general trend that we see in the self-help industry. So this fits with a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at in the project that I'm doing, looking at the history of self-help. This need to continually develop new problems to solve and new markets to lock and hook us into as consumers so that we throw money at new things that promise to help us in our quest for those kind of general aspirational things like happiness, productivity and health, well-being, that kind of thing, within the context of a busy, over-demanding world.
Holy cow. This is the first product I've ever launched. I've been working on this for over a year.
The announcement has been met with mixed reactions. Some are suggesting that she's not qualified and credentialed to launch a product like this. Others see it as a grift, jumping on a bandwagon that's already saturated with podcasters and influencers selling supplements in the name of health and wellness. And I don't really have anything personal to say on either of those points. This is a wholly unsurprising move. For those of us who've been kind of wondering, what is the thing that she's going to do next? And it actually reminded me of The Apprentice, when they're tasked with coming up with a new product that's based on a current cultural trend. They're given a couple of days to come up with the idea, make and manufacture the product, and then sell it or pitch it to retailers.
I've always done the protein shakes and this, that, the other.
This is the most amazing source of protein.
You come out with terminology like iconic vegetables.
Okay, before we go any further, I just need to jump in and add something here. I discovered this after I'd recorded the video, but it feels like relevant context worth including. So the product, now bottled and branded as Pure Genius Protein, the one that we see Mel Robbins announce, appears to have existed before Mel Robbins' involvement with it, having been launched last spring, so March 2025. It was previously sold as Genius Shot, which is a protein supplement co-created by Mike Israetel.
If you're looking for a product that's going to get you jacked, 23 grams of whey-derived protein, the highest quality protein there is, and it's quick and convenient. You can take it to TSA, throw it in your gym bag. It doesn't go bad for months and months. Out of the fridge. Yeah, Genius Shot is your thing.
The website geniusshot.com now redirects to puregeniusprotein.com, and the Instagram account for Genius Shot also points to Pure Genius Protein as the new version of what it was. The most recent capture on the Wayback Machine from October 2025 shows the Genius Shot Instagram already featuring Mel Robbins imagery alongside this announcing soon message. The tagline at the time reads, "Not just for the gym, but for life," which interestingly, mirrors this language that Mel later presents.
Because here's what the experts on the Mel Robbins podcast taught me. Protein isn't just for building muscles in the gym. Protein is the fuel that you need to live a healthy life.
So I was thinking life.
Could you spell it out to me, Joseph?
Life.
The products themselves are obviously more or less the same at the core level. Kind of different flavors and obviously packaging because the name's changed. But yeah, fascinating. There's no public details confirming whether a formal acquisition or transfer of ownership has taken place. And to be clear here, there's nothing inherently wrong with Mel Robbins becoming the public face of an existing product or being involved in this sort of rebranding or strategic partnership. But what does kind of raise questions is the framing here. Obviously, specifically the claim that the product was created through this year-long process in collaboration with those experts that she talks about, scientists that have appeared on the Mel Robbins podcast. Because as far as I've been able to determine, neither Mike Israetel or Giacomo Zacchia, who are the co-founders of Genius Shot, have appeared on the Mel Robbins podcast. It obviously doesn't rule out collaboration, but it does make this repeated emphasis on the creation and the origination and sort of this sense that Mel has been working from scratch with the experts to generate this product that gives the right amount of protein, because there wasn't such a thing before.
I've been working on this for over a year. I didn't do it alone. This is the coolest part. I partnered with world-renowned experts in medicine, in nutrition, in scientific innovation. I'm talking your favorite experts from the Mel Robbins podcast.
It sort of makes that at least ambiguous. And it's just very strange. It's like, you're doing it again. And it may well be that more information emerges over time here. But given how central the origin story is to the marketing of the product, as seems to be a pattern with Mel Robbins launching things, this felt like an important context to just add for the sake of transparency, so that people have a sense that, okay, this isn't anything new, and it's not new at the level of the product itself. It's not been developed by Mel Robbins. She is just the face of this thing, it appears.
I'm terrible at secrets, and I've been keeping a secret from you for a year.
All right, Andy of the past, I'm done. You may resume. I am mainly interested here in what this tells us culturally and socially, and to hold the messaging around a product like this against the philosophical foundations that supposedly underpin the let them theory. How does this move resonate with Stoicism, Buddhism, radical acceptance, the serenity prayer, those things that Mel said the book was rooted in? And is it helping people to take meaningful and creative control of their own situations? Or does it seek to create a sense of dependency in those that it is targeting? And as I say, as a practical case study, this can help us make sense of our relationship with personal development, self-help, and the industry surrounding those things that can't really afford to deliver on its promise of health, happiness, and healing in any kind of grand or long-term sustainable way without it losing its position. And I think this is perhaps summed up best when Mel Robbins declares,
I was shocked at how hard it is to get the amount of protein that all the experts are recommending.
And this can be interpreted as an issue of protein and not getting what we need. But I think it's worth looking at this from the angle of the recommendations. It would appear that these goalposts have been rather fluid in recent years. They're not agreed on. There's all sorts of different opinions on, what is the recommended daily intake of protein for people. And it depends on all sorts of factors. But yes, when the recommended intake increases, the market expands. And this is true in many contexts. It's true for a whole range of different things that we might apply it to. So from a marketing perspective, it becomes profitable to ask, how much is more than enough so it's difficult to achieve, but not so much that it's dangerous. And that's the amount that's worth then recommending, because it paves the way for the necessity of supplementary sources and services that can step in and help us achieve that.
Holy cow. Let me show you this sucker.
Who's the sucker? What's the sucker? There's a reason that nutritional supplements are a popular and savvy choice for self-help entrepreneurs. If you're selling life improvement as a performance or a productivity or a success influencer, it's easy to sell products like this in the name of, feeling more energetic, feeling more confident, feeling better, less bloated in yourself, happy when you're on the go with minimal effort required. Non-renewable consumables are also a great way to lock in your audience to this almost superstitious dependency on something that is difficult to measure, but without which we might tell ourselves, I wouldn't feel as good as I do, even though I don't feel great, but it's only because I'm taking this supplement that I'm feeling even this good.
I didn't do it alone. This is the coolest part. I partnered with world-renowned experts in medicine, in nutrition, in scientific innovation. I'm talking your favorite experts from the Mel Robbins podcast.
It's interesting that this line keeps coming up, experts, experts, experts. This is, I suppose, to appease the doubters who might say, Mel Robbins isn't in a position to be selling protein or nutritional supplements. She's got no knowledge or expertise in this. She's like, well, I've done this in partnership with all of these people. And we've seen this before, using the adjacency of experts to paint the let them theory as a piece of scientific research rather than an old idea that's ubiquitous in self-help that's wrapped in a slightly different metaphor. When accused of plagiarism, she signalled the presence of over 50 experts in this 18-page bibliography to justify essentially the omission of the poem that actually started it all. And similarly, by saying that the book was rooted in old traditions like Stoicism, Buddhism, serenity prayer, radical acceptance, she placed it under this umbrella of reputable external authorities that stabilised the central product. So whether that's a book or a bottle, this kind of works in the same sort of way. And we've seen the importance of aligning with experts and respected figures throughout the history of self-help. Name dropping, for example, gives the perception of weight to the influencer's work. The people who are reading it think, oh, that person is sort of behind it, or that person is supportive of this work, therefore it must be credible, it must hold weight. And so in the 1930s, Napoleon Hill drew on an opportunistically manufactured encounter with Thomas Edison for a photograph that he passed off as essentially evidence of a long-term friendship that the two had. And then the posthumous manufacturing of a relationship with Andrew Carnegie, whom he pretended to have been mentored by. And this is a story that endures to this day. There are people who still believe this, despite evidence suggesting that both relationships were a construct of Hill's imagination. The power of narrative means that Think and Grow Rich, for example, is still a popular self-help book today. It still sells loads and loads of copies. As a marketing expert, Mel Robbins identifies ways to sell psychological solutions to what people feel are missing from our lives. And she excels at repackaging tried and tested ideas in ways that speak specifically to the needs of her audience, which is what she did with the Let Them theory and is now doing with Pure Genius protein.
Now, here's the coolest part. There is nothing like this that exists because we created it.
There is nothing like this that exists because we created it, she says. This is fascinating wording. Of course, products like this exist. They're everywhere. You see them in every supermarket you go in. But this carries a sort of double speak function.
We've got to have that element of difference. People like cauliflower cheese.
Initially we might interpret this line as saying the product is a new concept. But what is actually being said is that this particular combination, the shape, the size, the name, the picture of a light bulb on the front, all of this only exists because that's what they created, which of course is true.
Look at the branding. Ding! It's a light bulb.
The Let Them theory was defended in much the same way. When asked about it, Mel Robbins said the Let Them theory has its roots in Buddhism, Stoicism, the serenity prayer, the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and therapeutic modalities like detachment theory and radical acceptance. I believe that's why saying let them and let me is so powerful. It feels familiar to everyone because it is. And so in this sense, the book is innovative because it's called the Let Them theory. It's green and it has an 18-page bibliography. And this is the creative genius of the marketer. Which is different from the inventor, from the writer, from the artist. It's about perception, presentation, and packaging, along with a compelling story to go with it in order to sell the idea to people. The genius is like being able to sell snow at a ski resort.
Especially on those days where you're on the go, back-to-back meetings, you're traveling, you're exhausted. You don't want to cook, you're sick of egg bites and smoothies and all the things that are out there. And I was constantly falling short. And so I was like, we got to do something about this.
And so I think this depiction of an unalterable reality is worth reflecting on. This product is positioned as a solution to the wrong problem, in my view. Instead of questioning the pressures, the expectations, the assumptions of everyday life that lead us to need these sorts of things, it offers a coping mechanism, like a sticking plaster for staying functional inside the very system that never slows down, the very system that creates this need in the first place.
I think it's a great choice because a lot of people do skip meals these days.
They're giving you energy
Energy's
and good
key.
for you.
Yeah, I
so.
think that's right. Cool.
And this matters, I think, because the philosophies that Mel Robbins frequently invokes to legitimize her work point in the opposite direction of where this takes us. Stoicism, it's not about optimizing output under pressure, but it's about recognizing and accepting limits. It's about relinquishing false layers of control and reducing compulsive striving for material success. Buddhism isn't a mindset hack. It teaches the loosening of attachment to desire, to urgency, to the illusion that more effort is going to bring peace. And radical acceptance is not a productivity tool. It's an acknowledgement that embracing the present moment, including all of its difficulties, challenges, discomforts, without trying to change or control it, is a way to find a sense of calm and peace within. And so none of these traditions would interpret back-to-back meetings, exhaustion, no time to eat, as a kind of neutral reality to be efficiently managed, but they would more likely see that state, that way of being, those conditions, as a signal to listen to and to work with in order to change those underlying conditions and those environmental situations that make the protein hack a viable option in the first place. When philosophies that are meant to soften our relationship with striving are repurposed to help us endure more of it, we get a weird contradiction that Aldous Huxley captured in Brave New World. He said, "Many of them are normal because they are so well adjusted to our mode of existence. These millions of abnormally normal people living without fuss in a society to which, if they were fully human beings, they ought not to be adjusted." And so Huxley is describing people who cope so efficiently that they no longer see or question the system that is harming them. And this lands uncomfortably close to the logic of this sort of modern hack, fix, shortcut approach to life. You know, this stuff that allows us to continue doing the very things that are making us unwell in the first place, while convincing us that we're taking responsibility for our health. You know, Byung-Chul Han speaks to this in the Burnout Society, where pressure no longer comes from an external authority, but it's found within us. The sort of disciplined society that comes from the strict parent or teacher or institution that's telling us what to do has been replaced by this kind of internalized injunction to keep performing, to keep achieving. We do it to ourselves, optimize more, push harder, turn every moment into a productive time, keep branding yourself, keep hustling.
I mean, look at this. You can literally put it in your pocket. I've got 23 grams of protein right there, and it's not going to smoosh like a bar when I sit down.
You can literally put it in your pocket. This is such a symbolically significant idea. You know, the pocket is the private site of achievement society. It's where the phone lives, isn't it? The personal branding machine, the tether that keeps us constantly reachable, accessible, responsive, permanently available. And so this little meal in a bottle can join that machine. You don't need to step away. There's no need to pause, no interruption. Just unscrew the cap, chug it down and keep moving. I'm not sure I'd ever put any kind of food bar in my back pocket, just in case I sat down. And I don't think I'd test the structural integrity of a bottle by sitting on it. Imagine that in a meeting, pineapple juice sort of trickling down your trousers. Not ideal. And this also raises deeper questions for me about the purpose of a book like the Let Them theory. You know, what is it trying to do? We can sort of retroactively fit that. Now we kind of know what the next stage is on Mel Robbins' journey here. Is it meant to create more serenity and discernment and societal change through the way that people orientate individually to relationships and the things that are beyond their control and all of that sort of stuff? Or is it, like this drink, a bit of a psychological hack that just helps us override the quieter signals that tell us that something needs to shift? In this sense, I think both of them function less as invitations to genuine transformation and more as tools for adapting to a system that benefits from our staying busy and compliant and self-blaming so that we might keep buying, striving and seeking shortcuts for long-standing problems.
I mean, you seem pretty chill, but like when that starts to happen, how do you feel in your body?
Chill.
I'm
pretty much
oh my God.
This book is everything that I am.
I love that. How did you get that way?
It's always been me.
This question really reveals a lot. It's something I've thought about a lot over the past year. How did you get that way? You know, that everything is assumed to have a shortcut to it, or a hack, or a way of achieving it. And there was something clearly in her when he said that was like, oh man, I wish I was like that. I kind of yearn for the kind of energy that you're just exuding right now, this chill that you're talking about. And I think this could have been an invitation for her to sort of really take that seriously and think, you know, maybe the way that I am sort of naturally wired, or the way I've come to be wired, and the patterns that I bring to situations, is something I'd like to change. I'd like to be less controlling, less needing to have power over people or dominate situations, or, just be thinking constantly, why are you taking so long to do this?
The next day I woke up and I'm at the grocery store and there's like 5 people in front of me and 1 cashier. Like, have you ever been at a grocery store and there's like 5 people in front of you and there's 1 cashier and it's like beep, beep, beep. And again, that sort of like volcano of emotion starts rising up. And I said, let them.
But the energy surrounding this protein shot feels like it comes from the same impulse that is underpinning that story. You know, if you're looking for a sign that anything had genuinely shifted for Mel Robbins in the past year or two, I think it's embodied here in this product, or in the way that this product is being marketed. That same impulse to control, to hack, to rush, to dominate circumstances without slowing down or looking and engaging more deeply is, yes, overridden here. And I'd argue that we see here someone who hasn't been changed by her own book at all. Maybe the whole process has just been a bit too rushed for it to land and to take root in any meaningful way.
I'm happier, I'm more motivated, I have less cravings, I have more energy throughout the day. It has been such a game changer.
So it's described as a game changer, but I don't see this as changing the game at all. I just think it keeps us stuck on the same playing field, just with a new dent in one pocket and a new bulge in the other pocket, which brings us back to the fish. You know, self-help often presents itself as teaching people how to fish, within that old proverb, give a man a fish, you can eat for a day, teach a man to fish, you can eat for a life. We might think of self-help within this context as providing the tools and the knowledge that lead to independence, agency and freedom for people. But it hits an obstacle here when we think of it in its sort of industry context. When people are free to explore their own path and to work things out for themselves, it becomes harder to extract value from them. So those relying on the industry in order to make money find a third approach, that sort of selling the pre-packaged fish, individually boxed, branded, delivered in the name of convenience, promising ease, simplicity, clarity, while quietly sort of ensuring a sense of dependency.
Please be patient, because this is so innovative and such a game changer. It is going to keep selling out.
And I don't want to point to Mel Robbins as unique in this at all. I think she is a symptom of this, as well as a source. But this week's announcement just provides us with a particularly clear case study that highlights the mechanics that are at work. Because when an industry depends on dissatisfaction in order to survive, it cannot afford for people to become genuinely self-sustaining and happy. It cannot afford to deliver the thing it promises to deliver. It has to keep reframing normal human limits as personal problems, increasing the recommended daily dose beyond a reasonable possibility. It has to keep expanding the list of things we should be optimizing, the things we ought to be doing regularly and incorporating into our lives. It has to keep turning care, nourishment, meaning into consumable products. So the question isn't really about whether or not Mel Robbins' protein drink works or is good. It's about what kind of life this product assumes we are trying to sustain, and what kind of life it is kind of encouraging us to see as normal.
Thank you for making your health a priority, because you deserve to feel better. And when you feel better, you do better. And when you do better, your life gets better. And I want that for you.